Welcome back for another deep dive. We've got some really interesting stuff to cover today. We're going to be looking at two events, seemingly unconnected, that happened recently in the Baltic Sea.
Yeah, sounds intriguing. What do we have?
First, a major undersea data cable, the Cinia C-Lion1, the one that connects Germany and Finland. It was cut, severed. And get this, German Defense Minister Pistorius is calling it sabotage.
Wow. Deliberate, then. That's not good. This isn't some, fishing trawler snag the cable kind of thing.
Nope, not at all. And then just days later, a key suspect in the Nord Stream pipeline bombing investigation almost got caught, but he escaped.
Oh, yeah, I remember that whole Nord Stream thing back in 2022. Big deal. So are they saying these two things might be connected?
That's what we're going to try to figure out. Let's start with the data cable. What can you tell us about that?
Well, the Cinia C-Lion1, it's a vital data link, carries tons of important stuff between Germany and Finland. So cutting it off, that's a major disruption, could be a way to sow discord between countries, maybe even gather intelligence.
Okay, so strategically important, and now we've got sabotage. What else do we know?
Well, there is a Chinese freighter.
What?
A Chinese freighter, the Peng 3. It was spotted sailing near the area right before the cable went down.
A Chinese freighter. What was it doing there?
Yeah, it's a good question, right? It had left the Russian port of Ust-Luga, was on its way to Port Said in Egypt. Now its presence in that area, especially now with, the whole geopolitical situation, that raised some eyebrows. And it gets weirder.
Weirder how?
The freighter wasn't just passing through, it was making these kind of unusual course corrections.
Like it was trying to not be seen.
Yeah, exactly. Like trying to avoid detection or maybe hide something.
Suspicious.
Very. And the Danish authorities, they were concerned enough to send out a whole bunch of naval vessels to track this Peng 3. They were following it for hours, basically watching its every move.
Wow. So what about this freighter? Do we know anything about the company that owns it?
Yeah, it's owned by a company called Ningbo Yipeng Shipping. And here's the thing. From what we can tell, they only operate 2 ships. This Peng 3 and another one, just called Peng. Pretty small operation for such a, strategically important area, don't you think?
Yeah, that's really strange. So we've got a cut data cable, a Chinese freighter acting suspicious, and a whole lot of unanswered questions.
Absolutely. Lot to unpack there.
Now let's move on to the Nord Stream suspect and his almost capture.
All right.
This part gets really interesting. So investigators, they were looking at vacation photos, right? Taken on a German island near where the pipeline was.
Vacation photo.
Yeah. And in one of the photos, they saw a red van parked right next to the yacht Andromeda, the same yacht they think was used in the Nord Stream attack.
What a coincidence. Wait, hold on. So they found this van.
They did. Tracked it down using the license plate, found the driver, he's Ukrainian, and he told them he transported diving equipment, and a suspect who matched the description of Volodymyr S, the guy they're looking for. From the Andromeda to Warsaw. Oh, and there's more.
There's more.
They found a speeding ticket. Same van, 2 people inside.
Okay, starting to come together. But how did they link this Volodymyr guy to the yacht itself?
Lots of digging. They found out that the Andromeda, it was rented using a fake Romanian passport.
Fake passport.
And, get this, Volodymyr's diving partner, he used the exact same fake name, Stefan Marcu, for a credit card and some online accounts.
Wow. That's a lot of coincidences.
Yeah, right. And then phone records. They show calls between the van driver and, guess what, a Romanian phone number belonging to, you guessed it, Volodymyr's diving partner.
So they had the van, the yacht, the fake passport, phone records, everything.
Seems like it. But German authorities issued a warrant for his arrest, and he managed to escape to Ukraine. They say he got help from the Ukrainian embassy in Poland.
Wow. Sounds like something out of a movie. So, hold on. We've got 2 events, both kind of mysterious, both happening around the same time in the Baltic Sea. You got to wonder, could they be connected?
Yeah, we'll explore that more in the next part of our deep dive.
All right, so let's dig into these possible connections, or maybe lack of connections. The Baltic Sea, it's a hot spot right now, geopolitically speaking, even more so after the whole Ukraine situation started.
Yeah, for sure. So are we thinking someone's purposely messing things up there? Or are these just isolated incidents, just bad luck?
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? Let's start with the data cable, that severed one. Cutting those communication lines, that's a good way to cause trouble, stir the pot between countries, maybe even scoop up some intel while you're at it.
So who are the usual suspects here? Who would do something like that and why?
Well, got to consider China. They've been pushing their influence in the Arctic and Northern Europe more and more. Cutting off those communications could be their way of showing they're in charge, or maybe spying on what Europe's up to.
But wouldn't that mess up their business deals with Europe?
Yeah.
Seems like a big risk to take.
Oh, definitely a bold move, that's for sure. But can't rule out other players either. What about Russia? They've been involved in the Baltic Sea forever. Maybe they're testing NATO, seeing how they'll react if things get unstable.
Okay, so maybe China, maybe Russia, maybe someone else entirely. So many possibilities. Now, how about the Nord Stream pipeline? Who wins when that gets blown up?
That's a tough one. Lots of layers to it. Some folks think Russia might have done it themselves, created an energy crisis in Europe, make everyone desperate, weaken their support for Ukraine.
Wouldn't that backfire on Russia, though?
Yeah.
They'd be hurting themselves, too, right?
Yeah, and that's why a lot of people doubt that theory. Maybe it was someone else, someone who wants to see Russia and the West at each other's throats, some non-state actor, maybe with a little help from a bigger power behind the scenes.
So it's a real mystery. And what about this Volodymyr guy, this Ukrainian diving instructor they almost caught? How does he fit in?
That's the million-dollar question. If he was involved, then maybe Ukraine had something to do with the Nord Stream bombing, or at least some group within Ukraine. But what was his motivation? Who was he working with? Still so much we don't know.
And he got away, too, to Ukraine, and supposedly had help from the Ukrainian embassy. That's a pretty big deal.
It is. Makes you wonder what's really going on, right? Someone high up knew about this and helped him get out. That has big implications.
So we've got these two things happening, both really mysterious, both in the same area, and all within a short period of time.
Yeah.
It's hard not to think they might be part of something bigger, like a coordinated effort to destabilize the whole region.
You can't just ignore that possibility. Think about it. Multiple players, all with their own goals, all operating in the Baltic Sea. The data cable, the Nord Stream pipeline, maybe those are just pieces of a much bigger puzzle. A way to cause chaos and make things fall apart.
Kind of scary when you put it like that. Used to be pretty peaceful over there. Now it feels like anything could happen. So we've gone over all the details, the data cable cut, the Nord Stream suspect getting away, and both happening right there in the Baltic Sea, a place already kind of on edge. What's your take? You think it's just a bunch of coincidences, or is there something more, something connecting them?
It's hard to shake that feeling that something bigger is going on, isn't it? If you look at the big picture, the Baltic Sea is a pretty important place. It's the gateway to the Arctic, which is becoming more and more valuable. Resources, shipping, you name it. Whoever controls the Baltic, they've got a lot of power.
So are you saying messing with communications, causing trouble, all that, could it be someone's way of trying to take control? Like they're making their move in this global power struggle.
Exactly. And the timing, it's just too perfect. It all happens right when things are already chaotic with Ukraine. Makes you wonder if someone's taking advantage of the situation, testing the waters, seeing what they can get away with.
And if these things are connected, if someone really is trying to cause problems, what does that mean for, well, everyone, for global security?
That's the scary part. If this is intentional, if someone is deliberately trying to destabilize the region, attack important infrastructure, break all the rules, it sets a really bad example.
Yeah.
Things could easily escalate, someone makes a wrong move, and boom, we've got a conflict on our hands.
It's the not knowing that's so unsettling. We've got suspicions, motives, evidence, but nothing concrete. And that uncertainty, that can be dangerous in itself. It breeds mistrust between countries.
Right. No one knows who to blame. No one's held accountable. It's like a fog of war. Everyone's suspicious. Everyone's on edge. And that's just the kind of environment where things can really spiral out of control.
It's crazy to think we started with a cable getting cut and a guy on the run, and now we're talking about the whole Baltic Sea turning into a powder keg. Makes you realize just how connected everything is. Something happens over there, and it affects everyone, everywhere.
It's a reminder that we need to be paying attention, questioning everything we hear, connecting the dots. We can't be complacent. We need to understand what's going on so we can navigate this whole, mess,
So as this whole thing unfolds, we want you to stay curious, keep asking questions, and come to your own conclusions. Do you think this is just a coincidence? Or is there something more at play? Tell us what you think. Join the conversation on our social media. And until next time, keep digging, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.